covering sports for 30 years. It's one thing for an exhibition here, there, whatever, but you can't continue to be allowed to build a career without getting into the ring with fighters. And if I remember correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, Shannon.
But does ultimately boxing get damaged?
Well, I think so. But I think boxing damages itself left, right, and centre. But I think the reputability and the credibility of some of these boxing sanctioning bodies is poor anyway.
Nobody can knock him for this. This is now business. This is business. For Jake Paul, absolutely crazy. Jake Paul is a domestic level professional fighter here in the UK.
Stephen A. Smith blasts the announcement, saying Jake Paul has never treated boxing with the seriousness it deserves. He argues Jake built his career on exhibitions and aging opponents, calling it disrespectful to the sport. To Smith, a matchup with Joshua only shows how poorly boxing is being handled.
He can't continue to get away with stepping into the ring against strikers for the UFC, basketball players, unknown boxers that punch like pillows.
Simon Jordan raises strong concerns about the Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul matchup, saying it exposes deep problems within modern boxing. He argues that business interests now outweigh the integrity of the sport, with fighters and promoters prioritizing publicity and big paydays over real competition. Jordan warns that when boxing shifts from skill to spectacle, it risks losing the respect built over generations. He cautions fans and industry insiders that matchups driven by hype rather than merit set a dangerous precedent, especially for young fighters watching the sport's direction. Jordan says this fight reflects a troubling trend where financial incentives overshadow the athletic challenge. In his view, using a world-class athlete like Joshua to elevate someone who has not yet faced elite opposition undermines the credibility of professional boxing. To Jordan, turning a championship-level fighter into a commercial tool weakens the value of true dedication, achievement, and competitive legitimacy within the sport.
But this, to me, is everything that's wrong with boxing. It's a money play, nothing wrong. I don't begrudge Anthony Joshua getting 50 million quid for an easy night's work. That's fantastic returns. Most people would take it. But from the boxing world, Jake Paul is now a professional fighter. Whether we categorise him as a YouTuber or not, he's licensed to fight, which means that the governing body should be suggesting that this is not a fight that possibly they should be looking to sanction.
Yeah.
But they will, because the sanctioning fees will be enormous. Anthony Joshua will not lose his legacy like some people are suggesting, because no one will remember it in 2 or 3 years' time. If he embarrasses himself in there, they'll remember it. If he goes in and knocks him out in 30 seconds flat, or turns it into a little bit more of a sort of Jake LaMotta raging bull, holding him up for a few rounds and then knocking him out, then people will forgive it. He'll get a big bag of money, which most people in the world would take, and move on. And then we'll see if he fights anybody meaningful in the year. I mean, it is like sport has become. And what I got my head around on Saturday night was the entertainment value of Conor Benn and Chris Eubank. The fighting of itself, I could be all pious about it, but the entertainment industry is so prevalent in sport now. This is entertainment. This is going to have hundreds of millions of people watching it. Of course. And Anthony Joshua gets paid, and Jake Paul hopefully gets flattened.
Simon, I know the money's there, but does ultimately boxing get damaged?
Well, I think so. But I think boxing damages itself left, right, and centre. But I think the reputability and the credibility of some of these boxing sanctioning bodies is poor anyway. But I think it does get damaged.
Even if it's an exhibition fight, which it might well be.
Well, then what's the jeopardy in that? If it's an exhibition fight, which it shouldn't be, if it's a proper fight, then Jake Paul is going to get demolished.
Johnny Nelson calls the matchup absolutely crazy and genuinely dangerous. He says this isn't a typical crossover fight. It's a real contest with real risks. Nelson admires Jake Paul's courage, but questions the logic of stepping in with a proven heavyweight like Anthony Joshua. The shock, he explains, comes from how serious the fight truly is, not from the hype. Nelson adds that while Jake has shown confidence and skill before, none of his past opponents come close to Joshua's level. He sees Jake's bravery as impressive, but also alarming, given the potential danger of facing a world-class heavyweight.
Because of Anthony Joshua's desire to be in the history books, to be a 3-time heavyweight champion of the world. To me, it shows me his desire. Pick up 50 million along the way. Nobody can knock him for this. This is now business. This is business. For Jake Paul, absolutely crazy. Jake Paul is a domestic level professional fighter here in the UK. Would he win a British title? No, I don't think so. So now they're putting this domestic level fight in with a former heavyweight 2-time champion of the world. The weight is 245. So I think last time Anthony Joshua weighed around that was when he boxed Usyk. That means he's got to be fight fit on point, because his last fight was 18 stone. I think it was 254 against Danny Dubois. So now he's basically saying you've got to get yourself in position, get yourself fit, and get yourself ready for fight. It's not tiddlywinks. This is a fight. It's not a push and a pull, So as long as it's not a push and a pull, and don't put me down and don't touch me in the build up to this fight. Remember when McGregor and Mayweather, they had this little side deal, don't touch me in the build up to this. If this is a real legitimate fight, Jake Paul is absolutely crazy. If not crazy, he's super brave, and it'll be interesting to see.
Well, what do you think? Yeah, because you said that before when we spoke about it being a proper fight or not. And Eddie Hearn and Paul's promoter, Nakisa Badarin, have both said in the last couple of days it will be a proper fight. And now you've heard the details, 8 rounds, 3 minutes a round, 10-ounce gloves. Do you believe it when they say that it's going to be a proper fight?
I do believe it because AJ's involved, and I think AJ'd struggle to he's going to take enough flack over this, but again, it's money talk. So I think AJ will struggle because it is an all-win situation. If he goes in there and Jake Paul lasts the distance, what does he tell you about AJ? Apart from he's just earned an extra 15 million quid. If he goes there and struggles with Jake Paul, then what do you say about AJ? Your heydays are well and truly over. If he goes in there and knocks him out, then I'll say that's to be expected. So the glory, there's probably not much glory in it, apart from the haters of Jake Paul to say, right, we've got rid of this kid. I think it's very brave of Jake Paul. So now the problem child has got to believe this fight's actually happening. So now
Tony Jeff offers a practical perspective, reminding fans that anything can happen in boxing. He explains that preparation, discipline, and mindset can sometimes narrow the gap between fighters, even when one is far more experienced. Jeff notes that Jake Paul is younger than Anthony Joshua, which could help with stamina and recovery, though he acknowledges Jake is not yet close to Joshua's technical level. Even so, Jeff points out that Jake has improved rapidly and shown real commitment to training. He believes that with the right strategy, dedication, and mental focus, surprising outcomes are always possible in a sport as unpredictable as boxing. Jeff adds that while the skill gap remains significant, Jake's work ethic has reduced the distance more than critics admit, giving the matchup a small but real sense of uncertainty.
He's prime. Where Anthony Joshua, on the other hand, is, but I wouldn't not going to say he's coming into his prime because he had some great wins earlier on in his career before he lost to Usyk twice. And by the way, when he did lose to Usyk, the last one was a split decision. It was a pretty close fight. So now this fight is matched, and I just want to look at the tail of the tape. Now, looking at the age difference, we've got 28 years old compared to 36 years old. So I guess the advantage there goes a little bit towards Jake Paul. 28-year-old is better than a 36-year-old. But that being said, we've got talking about experience and everything else, what comes with being 36 years old at Anthony Joshua's level. And then, like I mentioned, the heavyweights kind of seem to prime a little bit older. Now, come down to the height and the weight. This is the big one. 6'1" versus 6'6". 200 pounds versus 252 pounds. We got a 252 pounder in Anthony Joshua. The reach advantage is a lot, which we would expect. Amateur fights, we can see that Jake's only had one, where AJ's had 43, but 43 of them are including at the highest level, Olympic level. And yes, he won the Olympic bloody gold medal, if I don't need to remind you. Then the pro record, Jake Paul has had 13 fights, lost 1. AJ has had 28 fights and he's lost 4 with 25 KOs. And the one person that Jake Paul lost to was Tommy Fury. Now, can we compare Tommy Fury with Anthony Joshua? Not at all. It's like night and day. So now I'm going to talk about the rules of this fight, and I'll give you my prediction, which is going to shock a lot of people after this. So, what are the rules? The bout will take place at a heavyweight, obviously. It's going to be 8 3-minute rounds. You might think, well, that's better for Jake Paul.
El Sonnen argues that Jake Paul's critics will finally see the truth about his abilities when he steps in against a real high-level professional. He says this matchup will reveal whether Paul's rise was inflated by carefully selected opponents or if he genuinely belongs belongs in serious competitive boxing. According to Sonnen, the fight acts as a reality check for fans, analysts, and the sport itself, offering a clear measurement of Paul's legitimacy. Sonnen further explains that facing a world-class heavyweight puts Paul under a level of scrutiny he has never experienced. This time, seasoned fighters and respected analysts will judge him by genuine boxing standards rather than hype or marketing. He believes the outcome, good or bad, will help reset public expectations around crossover boxing. For Sonnen, this fight reinforces the importance of real performance, pushing the sport back toward authenticity and away from spectacle-driven narratives.